every word essentially does much more than communication. Good morning, you're welcome to Daily Dose. And this episode I bring you a word from the Lord. James chapter 1 and verse 22. It says, do not deceive yourselves by just listening to his word. Instead, put into practice. Now, the word of God, not just the word of God, but every word essentially does much more than communication. It does what they call creation. So when somebody speaks, what they are painting in your mind are pictures, they are images. You know, if I begin to talk about, let's say for instance, a red car, you're seeing a red car, you're not seeing R-E-D, which is the spelling of red, you're actually seeing something. Now, when Apostle James, who is also the brother of Jesus, was speaking about this, he said, don't deceive yourselves just by listening. And quite a number of people do these things because the words that they hear resonates with them. They believe that they are already doers of those words. Now, people must translate from hearing the word of God to actual doing, which is what they call the practice of the word of God. Now, how do you get to that point? Which is what God was saying to Joshua. He says, this book of the law would not depart out of your mouth. You must meditate on it day and night. There is a point in time where the word of God begins to mature in the heart of a man. Practicing the word of God requires meditation. When you do not have sufficient meditation, you have a mental assent of the word of God. That's why you see quite a number of people who are in the kingdom, they listen to the word of God, but their life has not changed in 25 years. They listen, they understand, they shout, preach it. They shout, they make noise about revelation and all of that. And there has never been a change in their lives. You will see them and you will wonder. In fact, a lot of people, you know, it's what they call that they are denying the power thereof, which is in the word of God. They are excited about it. They love it. And it's the same parable Jesus spoke about the parable of the seed, that certain seed will be sown on certain grounds and all of that. What changes the life of a man or a person is that they move from that particular point where they are and then they begin to practice what it is that they heard. Now you see certain people, they practice 2% of the word of God that they heard, and somebody practices 80% of that word, even if it's a little. And that's why you see that God compared the word of God as to a mustard seed. It says the faith of a man is like a mustard seed. It's as little as a mustard seed, that if that seed is put into the ground, this is where the action is. The thing about God is that there must be actionable and workable plan. Once there is no actionable and workable plan, you will never fulfill the potential God has for you. There are so many people who have great ideas, who have fantastic ideas, but they'll rather talk about it and get excited about those ideas. But if they can only give as much action to the level of those ideas, they will be superhuman beings today. Now, so what Apostle James was trying to get people to get into is that practice the word of God. Just practice one aspect of it. And this is where faith comes. Faith comes not just by hearing, but by doing. When you hear, you must stand up and do. If you do not do, you will remain. And it's what they call the law of motion. I think Newton's law of motion says a body will stay in an exact same position except an external force is acted upon it. There is action in the word of God. So you see God say to, all right, Abraham, he says, get out of your father's house. You must stand up. If God says, I promised you, or you are going to be father of many nations, and you refuse to get out of that house, he will remain there. You will see Apostle Peter and Paul, they went into the synagogue. They said, we don't have anything, but such as we have, we give to you. They said, stand up, which means you must stand up. You will see Jesus, when he healed anybody, he will say to them, as I've healed you, go to the pool, wash your face. If those people remain there, they would have remained that way, even though their healing has been given to them. So when we receive a word from God, there is what they call the corresponding action. And this is what Apostle James was trying to say to them. If you do not act on the word that God has given to you, that word will remain in that state of rest until you put something to it. And so today should be a day of action. all the notes you've taken in church, go and look back and that thing. You know, I work in advertising, and one of the things we do in advertising is that after every design, which is you do anything, the copy must give you what they call call to action. Is either you subscribe, is either you do this, there must be something that is given to people to do. And so take that action today from the Word of God. It's enough that you've been studying the Word of God. It's enough that you are a theologian. It's enough that everybody calls you a rabbi. It's now time for you to stand up and begin to do what that Word has told you to do. I hope that has blessed you this morning. Until tomorrow when I bring you another word on another episode of the Daily Dose, keep liking, sharing, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. God bless you.